Hello there, and thanks for joining me for this commentary. I'm Rich Coggill, and this is the episode Flashes Before Your Eyes. Now we're having a quick recap here. Desmond's turned the failsafe key and he's woken up naked in the jungle. Now my theory behind why he's naked is I think that when he turned the key there was so much strength, power in the electromagnetism that it literally just burnt his clothes off. If you've got a different theory, please leave a comment. I'd love to see it. To me, this is up there with the very best episodes. I'll say it's my joint favourite along with The Constant. Now, we don't really find out what happened to the island after Desmond did turn the key. Otherwise, the hatch imploded, releasing all the built up energy from the specific area of the island. The other big thing, I guess, is that it enabled Penny's guys at their listening post to find the island as they were alerted to the electromagnetism that was released. The other big thing is not too sure what Desmond's capabilities are in regards to seeing the future. I mean, we know he sees Charlie dying and we know he's seen Locke's speech, but just what is the extent of it? I mean, because if he could see right through whatever year or so ahead, he'd be able to see the smoke monster causing all his damage, so he obviously would have given him a warning. So there must be a limit as to what he can see. One thing that's not often touched on is that Desmond is a candidate. He's number 108. If you add together all those famous numbers 4, 8, 15, 16, 23 and 42, it comes to 108. Hurley's twigged something's up here. Here comes a flash. Ian Cusick's a great guy. He's I don't think he'd have a problem swimming this because he's a very keen triathlete. He's a massive soccer fan as well. Big supporter of Dundee United, who are a team in Scotland. Just quickly touching on Mr. Echo, who they've been informed that he was killed. There was apparently going to be big plans for him, according to the writers, until it was decided that Adewale wanted to leave the show. So we'll probably never find out what those plans were. We may do if they decide to do a tell-all, but he could have even ended up right at the end running the island, who knows. The one good thing about this episode is, as good as it is literally just based around Desmond, we get to see the first appearance of Eloise Hawking. And in my opinion, she's probably the most mysterious person out of the whole series. Charlie feeling helpless here. Hurley's in comic book mode there. This guy can see the future. Now these opening credits, they still give me a buzz after all this time. It's got such a bleak feeling about it. I think if they'd had opening theme to this, it would not have been the same. And we are 10 years from the final episode that was shown 10 years ago. Would have been nice if we'd had some kind of sequel or prequel by now. I probably would have preferred a prequel. I'd love to have known a bit more about the woman who killed Jacob and the Man in Black's mum. I'd love to know what her origins were. But then I certainly wouldn't have said no to a sequel. We know that Ben, Hurley and Walt are running the island. That obviously changes somewhere down the line because we see Hurley and Ben at the church. But you could still have a decent storyline for a sequel. It's the island does still have its magic, and I'm sure there's a lot of Charles Widmore type people out there who'd want to come and try and benefit from that. It would also be interesting to see whether Walt going back made any difference to helping Michael finally get off the island, obviously because his spirit or whatever was trapped there due to his naughty behaviour. See here, Hurley touches on what Desmond's abilities actually are, because he thinks that them planning that, Desmond would already be able to see it, but I don't think it goes that deep. One interesting thing that quite a few people still believe is that the island was not real. There's a lot of theories out there that they were dead once the plane crashed. That's not true. The island's real. Everything that occurred on the island is real. Right up until the season 6, when the Flash Sideways was actually Desmond in his purgatory, rushing around trying to connect everyone up. So there's still a lot of stories to be told about this island, in my opinion. Poor man, he cannot escape that scotch or whiskey. I do love this shanty. I'd love to know who come up with it. Just touching on Desmond being a candidate again, in the episode where Jacob sent Hurley to the lighthouse, you can see as Hurley looks at his hand, he has got 108 written on there, but you can't quite see the name. And when they get upstairs to the mirrored area and Hurley's starting to turn the dial to 108, I get the feeling that once it got there, we would have seen either Desmond's boat or Desmond's flat in London, something along the lines of that, until Jack smashed it up. And Jacob didn't seem too concerned when Hurley told him that he'd smashed all the glass up. I get the feeling this was the course correction, and the fact that Jacob knew Desmond would still find his way to the island, but this it was changed now. Instead of making his way there on his own, he was kidnapped by Widmore. So the producers have said that that the name of the series, Lost, is not about them as just lost in an island in the middle of nowhere. It's about the characters being lost as human beings. So here we are in the hatch. He's about to turn the key. When he turns it, we see 11 flashes, and I've pinpointed what episodes they're from. And as far as I'm aware, all 11 of them are from earlier episodes. There's no future flashes, just in that little piece. I'll note down in the comment box every moment that occurs. If anyone feels I've missed something out, then please let me know. So this is a first. Here we are, mind travel. Turning that key, Desmond's been thrown back into 1996. That suit there is pretty close to the Dharma Initiative one. I think these two were brilliant together. Great on-screen chemistry. Now, ever so slowly, Desmond gets some reminders, such as numbers and noises, and his mind gradually builds up that he's not meant to be there. So there we go, 108. So somewhere in the cave on the island, Desmond's name would have been crossed off somewhere. It's I think the people that Jacob wanted to take over the island really needed to be in despair or unhappy with their life, as in not even wanting to get off the island. And I get the feeling that Desmond, once he got back with Penny and had a baby and had a bit more meaning to his life, that sort of ruled him out. I also think that when you're crossed off on the wall, you can be killed by the smoke monster, but he couldn't kill Desmond personally due to Desmond being the special sort of guy that he is, which is why he still needed the likes of Sayid to try and kill him. Quite interesting there that they've got a microwave oven that sounds exactly like the hatch countdown. So here we are in Widmore's building. This is it's meant to be London, but everything was shot on location in Hawaii here. Fooled me, I must say. There's a couple of really good background stills doubling up as London, and some very dodgy, shall we say, English accents. Those numbers, they drive a bloke nuts. Now this, once we see this scene with a painting behind Desmond, which is coming up, this one here in the background, that was one of Thomas's paintings. Thomas was Claire's boyfriend. The writers say that there is no connection whatsoever between Widmore and Thomas, but again, that's another hell of a coincidence. Widmore seems to be a very bitter man. I don't think he's ever got over being thrown off the island by Ben, and it's clear he's one priority in life now is getting back to the island. Hence why he's been bidding for paintings or anything to do with the island. He bid for the Journal of the Black Rock. He's hoping that somewhere in there he will find the clue which gets him back to the island. But of course now Desmond turned the key. I would assume that Widmore's boat or his people also picked up on that as the same as Penny's guys did. I think even the first time I watched this episode, I knew that some humiliation was coming. I'd love to know anyone's thoughts on if you'd like a prequel or a sequel, any potential storylines you think would be great. So the background shot we see in a moment, which is supposed to be London, is the Strand and Northumberland Avenue. You can go there and get the matching shot if you're the avid location hunter. Obviously, quite a bit's changed, road set up, but the buildings are still the same. And here's another memory jog. This is Charlie. He's busking. He's singing Oasis's Wonderwall. Very important line sings, "You're going to be the one that saves me," and of course Desmond tries to do that constantly. Interestingly, Dominic Monaghan's a massive Manchester United fan, and Oasis are huge Manchester City fans, but I'm sure he was fine singing this song. He's an ultimate pro. So it's really hitting home now that that he doesn't belong here, but he is back here. So it's the course correction thing. He can go and change certain things, i.e. go and have a conversation with someone who he didn't previously on this same day. But it is pretty clear that everything must stay the same. What happened, happened, as they said a few times in this series. Interestingly, he got the rain spot on, but he gets the day wrong with the guy coming into the bar and demanding money. See, obviously, back in his original timeline, this wouldn't have happened because he wouldn't have had no need to come and see his friend at the university. If you tally up the amount of stress through this entire series, I certainly think Desmond's the winner. The barman over there, the chap's name's Michael Titterton, and I believe he is the manager of the Hawaii Philharmonic Orchestra or something along those lines. It's available on Google if you want to check that out. Now, Mama Cassie's song comes on the jukebox. This is the song which is playing when we're introduced to Desmond the first time, when he's going through his daily routine in the hatch. Not the best research by the guys here. He says Greybridge come back, and Greybridge are not a football team. They don't exist. Plus, that's very dodgy footage. Looks about 1980s, 1990s. Often wondered if he hadn't have been hit on the head the next time he comes in here, how much longer would he have gone on for in this specific time? Again, perhaps course correction, he would have ended up bashing his head in some other way and then waking up again in the forest. What I find great, even after 10 years, is the conversations you can have with people who've still got theories. You know, there's not too many wrong theories because, you know, the producers have said it is what you interpret. Apart from they've confirmed what the ending is. Which, to be honest, I wasn't disappointed in, but I think the church and going through the doors, to be honest, was unnecessary. I didn't really need that for closure for this episode, you know. I would have been quite happy with just Jack seeing the plane take off, closing his eyes, and then us seeing, you know, maybe just a little teaser that perhaps we may return to the place one day. There is an extra on the DVD box set of Ben heading to the Dharma factory somewhere on the mainland and starting to close everything down. So this is the introduction to the mysterious Eloise Hawking. I've had so many conversations about this with people. She is just, we know absolutely nothing about her. We know she's Daniel's mum, of course. And we know she'll have some information because obviously when she shot him, she then became the owner of his book. But I always have this theory that she's the kind of Doc Brown of the show, where somehow, which isn't explained, she does have the ability to go forward, back, and she has kind of found her way to this specific point where she knows that she will meet Desmond for the first time and then can send him on his way with, his kind of tasks. Kind of like in Back to the Future 2 when Doc Brown traces the moment back in 2015 to where it all goes wrong for the McFlys. And of course, but she wasn't ready for the fact that there was a different mind in this Desmond Hume, because she automatically assumed he's not going to buy the ring, and he's turned around and said he is going to buy it. So that's startled her. Now, I'm not too sure whether the lamppost is below here or not. So later on in the series, she seems to be in charge of the lamppost, and that is, of course, that's a Dharma building section on the mainland. So how she's there and when was the moment that the Dharma stopped going to this place is another answer I'd like to find out. See, there's always the chance that obviously Desmond and Daniel would have had quite in-depth conversations, but I'd be absolutely baffled if Desmond had brought up that he was going to buy a ring on this specific day. And besides, Eloise already knows about the guy outside in the red shoes who's going to die, so... Now, on the DVD extras for the box set, there's a mini-series, I think it's 6 episodes, of a kind of fake documentary series. It's kind of like an Arthur C. Clarke thing, investigating and all that. So it's called Mysteries of the Universe, and on the final part, they investigate into reports of people going missing from a certain church, and I will read you out what it says about it. So, newly appointed general manager of the church is named Eloise Hawking. However, she has refused several requests for an interview. In a most unusual twist, it appears Miss Hawking apparently does not have an official birth certificate, but she is listed as the mother on the birth certificate of one Daniel Faraday. As to why they have two different names, especially as no father is listed on the certificate, is another mystery. So the only few things we do know is that she led the others at quite a young age. How did she get to the island? Whether she went with Charles, that's quite possible. And she clearly found her way off okay. How have we not stopped asking questions after 10 years? See, there's knowing the future and there's knowing the future, which is, everything around you. I've always had the thought of how good it would be to have had a deleted scene where she has seen the smoke monster come off the island and literally destroy mankind. I mean, because I don't think she's an evil woman. I think she's trying to save mankind, so she's trying to get Desmond onto his path. But again, you could argue the case with course correction. Would Desmond have gone off and done what he'd done anyway? So, yeah, let me know your thoughts on Eloise. They've done a pretty good job here, doubling Hawaii for London. It's gloomy anyway, I'll give you that. Does rain a lot in London. We know he does join up. So obviously we see some scenes in the Constant. Now, that's a fake background. I cannot believe it. I'd gone down and visited and took some matching shots of that. Obviously this here is Hawaii because no building like that exists in London. But this guy in the background, the photographer, he's Stephen Quinn. You can kind of make out the background's a bit fuzzy there. It sort of gives it away. I think Eloise's words are finally hitting home. You know, there's a lot of good characters in this show, but I've certainly got Desmond up there as my number one. I think John Locke runs in very close. The funny thing is, he doesn't even seem to be worried the fact that he's back here. You know, he doesn't seem in a rush to get back, does he? But then again, who would? You're there with the love of your life. Well, until he's decided to chuck her, of course. I did some real geeky research into this thing coming up when he supposedly throws the ring into the River Thames. Now, if he had done, behind him would have been the aquatic centre. And when you see the camera as if it's under the water looking up at the building, which is coming there, that is not the shape of the building in London. It's a ridiculous fact, but... I've read a few places that he only travelled back for one day, but I'm assuming this is the second night. Again, it's quite funny seeing the crowd in here cheering to a recorded match. I could be wrong, but I think in reality this is Barcelona versus Real Madrid. It's only a guess, trying to match the kits up. There he is. He's quite pleased there that he's got it right. There we go. So he's lived all that in the turn of a key. And he's holding the back of his head, so he's certainly, it's as if he has had a proper smack on the back of the head. Now, before this show winds down, I want to give a really big shout out to a YouTube guy by the name of Shawnee B. When this program was first airing, he used to do recaps after each episode, and I know many thousands really did enjoy it. I'll put a link up to his YouTube channel. I think the poor man's had enough. I don't know why Charlie's, trying so hard to get answers out of him. It may be, obviously, it's probably a bit of jealousy that he's not Claire's knight in shining armour for a change, but now I'm recording this commentary towards the end of March, and we're in a tough place, the world at the moment with this coronavirus. So just want to say I hope you've enjoyed listening to this. Look after yourselves, look after everyone around you, and let's hope that better days are not too far off. I think Charlie might regret asking this. But as it happens, Charlie ends up giving his life anyway. top episode. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. See you soon.